what is a shaman? What is shamanism in general about? You know, what sorts of things are encompassed by this? So you have some thought of context of where does this fit with other energy work or other things you've done, NLP, whatever else you're doing. And then we'll get to, well, what is shamanic specifically? So, yeah. So I'm going to put it like that. See the unseen, or, you know, stuff most people don't see. So see beyond, and by see also all the senses, yeah, extend beyond. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, feel things.
Feel. So they might see, feel, or otherwise sense things beyond what the average person might see or feel. Mm-hmm.
It's as a conduit and a translator for all that information beyond those senses, so that people comprehend.
Sorry, so that people...
Well, yeah, it's as a conduit and a little thing that I've said.
Translator?
Translator for things beyond the normal five senses, so that the rest of the tribe, the collective can...
So they can communicate through the things that they've seen or picked up or experienced and communicate that through to the rest of the tribe or whatever. So they are in themselves, like, yeah, a conduit or a translator, that they communicate between the worlds, between the different levels or layers or seen or unseen.
It's a medium by any other name, isn't it?
Yes. Now this is a fair point, is that as you go through, because I've studied a lot of these different traditions over years and years, and thought, and you keep, I'm sure you've noticed the same thing, you're going, well, wait a second, I already know this, only it was called another name. And a lot of these things are called different names, but basically it's the same thing. Now, what is a medium versus what is a channel versus what is someone who communicates or sees beyond or gets information from somewhere else? Maybe it's something to do with how you do it and where you get the information from. So a medium might be something specific that in some way communicates with spirits, in the sense of people who may be passed on. It could be something as specific as that. And they might do it visually or see or talk to. So there's different ways of doing that, but it could be, but it's that specific place. You're talking to human beings who've passed on, or spirit entities maybe, or angels, or you know, other spirits of some sort that are basically human in nature, or that sort of thing. But then maybe the shaman is doing a similar thing, but they're talking to animals and to plants and to rocks. And so would you call that a completely different thing, or would you call it the same thing? And do you give it a different name? Clairvoyance is being able to see further. Clairaudience is being able to hear further. So you might have different names for the way that you go about doing it. But there's a similar sort of thing. And what I've always been interested in and I'm getting at is, well, what are the underlying principles in common? Never mind the different belief systems. Let's just clear that out of the way. And never mind the different names and labels that go on it. Let's clear all that out of the way. What have we got underneath? How does that work? What translates across? What is every single system doing? In other words, the bits that work. And we'll clear the clutter out of the way, and then we'll focus on the bits that work without the mystique and the complications and the years and years of training and the having to buy into some particular belief system, or limiting yourself by saying, okay, well, that's what that is. Mediumship is talking to this sort of thing. Wait a second, what about every other sort of thing you can communicate with? What about, I know people who communicate with their cars when they break down, or their washing machine. You know, I did that, my washing machine broke down, and I thought, oh, I can't have this happen, I can't afford to get a new one now, you know. This is just the very moment when everything's dirty or whatever. I communicated with the washing machine, and it started to work again, and it worked for another 6 months, and then it broke down, and then I replaced it. How does this happen? When it starts happening enough times, you start to think there's something really there. Another friend of mine said that she was trying to fit a washing machine under a worktop. She'd measured everything, ordered the thing, got the space for it, should have fit, couldn't get it in. Husband came, they worked together, they couldn't get it in. They shoved it, they pushed it, they tried to ease it in, they bashed everything, you know, if it doesn't work, kick it, force it in. They went away and had a cup of tea. And then she said, okay, wait a second. I'm a Reiki master. This has got to work energetically. Sent out the energy, you know, been told I can communicate with these other things. Went out there and Reiki'd it, and the thing just slid in. Just like that, straight in. Well, how, you know, excuse me, they tried every other thing first. What is that? I've known people who will look at some piece of equipment, like I said earlier about the guy with the air conditioning, and they'll just see, or just know, or just hear, or just feel which bit it is, even if they know nothing about the workings of it, actually. But what are we going to call all these things? You know, I don't really care. When you come to prove these things, let's take a completely different example. Past lives. You know, do you think that there's reincarnation? Do you think that, you know, we come back again and again? If somebody recalls and remembers a past life, is it their past life? There have been some very convincing examples where you could go back. They've been on the television, you may have seen some of them, where they said, yep, we could trace back, there was such a person, these were the details of their life, everything was accurate and correct. They couldn't possibly have known that. It was an unknown, you know, obscure individual somewhere, so it wasn't as if it was someone famous and you could have read about them or whatever. All those information are there. We've really tested out this particular case, so we could really say, yep, that person did exist in the past, this person has all this information about them. So past lives are true, you know, future lives are true. You have more than one life. This person was that person in a previous life. Could be so. What else might it be?
Collective consciousness?
Yeah, could be collective consciousness. Could be you happen to tune in. That person ultimately, you know, did exist. You happen to tune into that particular energy signal, that particular information. Maybe there's something in common between you or some link or whatever. You were certainly able to tune in to that energy, but it could be through whatever you want to call it, collective consciousness or the energy field, or because everything is linked, I would suggest. Everything is linked in some way. Everything is energy, everything is linked. And you can, in fact, pick up information from any part of that field, whether it's back in time, forward in time, parallel in time, here in the present, somewhere else on the planet. And you can do it in different ways. You can see it, hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it. You maybe can't tie it down and say, this particular thing was me being clairvoyant, or this particular thing. If I was giving you a reading, if I was reading your palm, am I getting the information correctly because of telepathy? I've read the information, I've picked up the information from your mind or from various signals and things about you. Or is it because it's really there in the lines of your hand and it's specific enough to be able to say that? Or is it because I get the information from somewhere else? You know, maybe some spirits channel that through, or the intuition comes to me in some other way, or whatever other reasons you may have. I personally don't care. You know, as long as these things work and you're getting the results that you want, then, you know, if I set out to give you an accurate reading, to tell you something useful about yourself and your character and the things that are coming up for you, and I'm able to do that, then I don't really mind too much how I've managed to do that, as long as my ways are consistent and reliable and so forth for me.
Why is it that traditional shamans, at least as far as I know, all over the world use very different but always very complicated and sophisticated rituals? They never ever seem to do it just like we did it here.
Well, there's two reasons for that.
What's the worth of it?
The worth of it is there is a lot of worth to ritual and to the build-up and to the drama and to the show. That's to help all of you get your belief and get into state. This would be much more dramatic if I set up lights and sound systems and dramatic things happening and smoke and, you know, and all sorts of stuff, and we were drumming and we were doing all this. Number one, it would get you into an altered state, into a trance state. Drumming does that. Music does that. So different systems in the world will do different things to get themselves into an altered state. You can equally get into the altered state by putting yourself into a self-hypnotic trance or relaxing or focusing or whatever else. But there's the thing about getting everybody into the state, getting the group into a state together where the powerful group energy is all focused on one thing. And shamans do that